Welcome back in episode 105 of the Sports Information Podcast with your host, Hop Hopkins. And we got another fun one. Great week 9 predictions after an awesome week 8 recap. And let me tell you, if you're in a pick'em league, you need to subscribe to the pod because we are on fire. Another great week there. We've got another A-plus player of the week prediction, more must-see TV talk. Of course, we're going to go over what missed the cut real quick. NBA season. We're still new, and we're in the heat of NFL, and I just haven't quite made the transition yet. I just haven't quite found the time to follow both. I'm busy as can be at work with soccer playoffs coming to a start and basketball season starting up here at school. So I gotta put NBA on the back burner for now, but it's killing me, but we'll get there. I've been watching the games. I just haven't been able to formulate a lot of topics and good stuff for the show involving the NBA. So we're going to leave the NBA alone. I know MLB World Series is going on right now, and that's super popular. I know there's a lot of talk about Aaron Judge and his hitting drought, and can the Yankees come back down 3-1? Who knows? Probably not. But this is my support for baseball right now. I'm repping the regional shirt that I got at last year's regional tournament when I traveled with our baseball team here at Hanover College. Speaking of Hanover College, it's time for the nightly shout-out to our men's and women's soccer teams. They just beat Franklin this week. Men secured a first-round bye in the playoffs, and they'll be hosting a semifinal playoff game right here at Hanover College. And the women just won their 6th conference game of the season, and they'll be hosting a quarterfinals matchup against, I think, Anderson is who we said, next week on Wednesday. So if you're a soccer fan, more importantly, if you're a Hanover College soccer fan or Hanover College sports fan, be there next Wednesday, soccer fields. All right, let's get right into it. And as always, at the end of the show, it's going to be most of the end of the show today. We're going to be pretty quick with these recaps. Producer questions, your favorite phantom voice, the sports information producer. Week 8 of 18 in the NFL. How spoiled are we? 18 weeks. That's awesome. All right. Thursday night football, it began with Vikings at Rams. 50 total points, by the way. It was a good game, to say the least. And that was the first one that we got wrong. We got our most picks wrong in a week since we started doing this. This is our 3rd week picking games. And 11-5 overall record. And the first one wrong was Vikings-Rams. 11-5 is a pretty good record, guys. Okay? It's a pretty good rate. And when you consider the NFL teams who finish, 11-7 or whatever it is, 11-6, they consider that a good record. So I'm going to take 11-5 in 1 week as a good record. Next, we had Packers-Jags. We picked that one correctly. We had Packers over Jags. Easy money. Dog of the week, we took the Dolphins to lose to the Cardinals. That was a weird way to word that. We took the Cardinals over the Dolphins, and it hit just by 1 point with a walk-off field goal. It was awesome. Jets at Patriots. Picked the Jets. Jets are a bad football team. Shouldn't have picked them. But the Patriots are an even worse football team, and they still found a way to win. So I don't know what to do there in the future moving forward. But what I do know is I've been right all along. Classic Category 1 take by me, as Nick Wright would say. The Jets are a bad football team. So Ravens at Browns. I don't think anybody had this on their bingo card for the year. Ravens lose by 5 in Cleveland. Excuse me there. And then the Eagles at Bengals. I picked Bengals to win this one, and they didn't. The Eagles beat them by 20 points, 37-17 in Cincinnati. It was a tough one. Colts at Texans. We had the Texans here in Texas. It was a smart pick. Texans win by 3. Anthony Richardson, man. He's getting benched this upcoming week. I'm sure we'll hear some questions about that later, seeing that I'm a Colts fan. 10 for 32, 175 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. If you can get him to complete 17 balls, just imagine. Like just half those passes, a little over half. 17 for 32, just over 50%. That'd be awesome. If he's throwing 175 yards on 10 completions, just imagine if he could get 5, 6, 7 more completions, man. He'd be, I don't know, he'd be a little bit better in theory. It's tough. Titans at Lions. The Lions made this one not close, 52-14. My goodness. And we picked the Lions, so that's a dub for us there. Falcons over Bucks. Honestly, the Bucks played this a lot closer than I thought they would, given that Godwin and Evans are both out. However, we did pick the Falcons here, even though this game was in Tampa Bay, divisional game, and it paid off. Saints, Chargers in LA. Chargers 26-8 win. We had the Chargers winning that. Bills over Seahawks, 31-10 win in Seattle. We picked that one. Bears at Commanders. We took the Bears here. Keep in mind we make these picks on Wednesday nights so that we can get them out to you before Thursday night football. I made this pick with the assumption that Jaden Daniels wasn't going to play. He was still questionable the last I had looked before recording the show and last week. And I just assumed they weren't going to play him, seeing that he's a rookie quarterback. He's been balling. He's frail in the sense that he's a slender build. He's a skinnier guy going up against these freak athletes. And I figured they would want to rest him just to be sure with a rib injury, something so tricky, something so fragile. But they played him, and the Bears lost by 3. Jaden Daniels, 21 completions on 38 passing attempts, 326 yards on a touchdown. Caleb Williams, 10 for 24, 130 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. So Jaden Daniels went out and outplayed. I think definitely in that game solidified himself as Rookie of the Year, unless the Commanders just fall off a cliff moving forward and the Bears absolutely tear it up, which I don't see happening in the case of the Commanders falling off. The Bears could go on a hot streak. Who knows? It's football. But I don't think that the Commanders fall off. So Jaden Daniels, congrats on winning Rookie of the Year, my friend. Keep going. Put yourself further up in the MVP ladder. I don't think you'll win it just because historically it doesn't go to rookies. You'd have to do something really special. But no one's saying you can't. So go do it, man. Chiefs at Raiders. We picked the Chiefs. They were money line. They were not dogs this week. Never mind. That was stupid. But they were the away team. And Patrick Mahomes played a better game. I'm not going to say his best game, but 27 of 38, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce got his first touchdowns, 90 yards on 10 catches. Chiefs win by 7 in Vegas. That was an easy pick. They always beat the Raiders. Panthers at Broncos. We had the Broncos winning this, and they did by double, 28-14 over the Panthers. Cowboys at 49ers. We had the 49ers winning this, and they made us sweat it for a little bit. They made us worry about our pick, but never a doubt, 49ers own Dallas, per usual, 30-24 win. And then Giants at Pittsburgh. The Steelers won this 26-18, never a doubt. Monday Night Football, Mike Tomlin. Primetime game against a bad Giants football team. Again, never a doubt. So that's an 11-5 week. That's 38-7 over the last 3 weeks since week 6. We've been picking since week 6. We did 7, just did week 8. We are now 38-7, 7 losses in 45 games of picking football. That's ridiculous. Gabe, I think you can stop clipping the I don't know ball clip and put it in context. Next time you do, don't just show that part, show the entirety of the clip. But I think it's safe to say I know a little bit of ball, so, publicize your picks and let's compare records. See me in February. Thanks. Texans at Jets, Thursday night football of week 9. The Jets are what all together now? A bad football team. Give me the Texans. CJ Stroud just lost Stephon Diggs. Nico Collins is still on IR. Doesn't matter. Joe Mixon, 2 touchdowns probably. Tank Dell, best game of the season so far because he's going to be wide receiver 1 that night. Dalton Schultz, 8 catches probably. CJ Stroud's going to find a way to get it done. DeMeco Ryans is going to beat the Jets. Doesn't matter that it's in New York. And if I see one more headline about how the Jets have changed everything, like top to bottom, they've changed the coaches, they've changed the wide receiver and the weapons and the this, the that. What else can they do? Get rid of Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, Saints at Panthers. Oh, God, what a terrible game. Divisional game, too. Give me the Saints to open up Sunday afternoon football, Sunday morning, depending on what end of the country you're on. Commanders at Giants. Give me the Commanders, man. Jaden Daniels, like I said, I really believe in you. and that's a bad Giants football team. Bills hosting the Dolphins. Give me the Bills. Dolphins, I'm not seeing it, man. I don't get it. You just lost to the Cardinals. I don't care that Tua's back. Give me the Bills to beat the Dolphins and go ahead and win that division. Chargers at Browns. Whew, I mean, the Browns got some new life with Jameis Winston, right? But I'm gonna take the Chargers. I think that Jim Harbaugh defense is pretty good, pretty solid, and I think Herbert is starting to find a groove in that offense, and they might be able to pull that win off on the road. So give me the Chargers there. I don't love the pick just because the Browns, and when a team's having fun and they've got some new life, feels like they've got nothing to lose. Feels like they're playing from behind the chains already just because they're not playing with who they want to be playing with. You know, they started the season with Amari Cooper, and they traded him. They started the season believing Deshaun Watson was back, and now he's maybe never going to start again. You never know with a team like that, but give me the Chargers. I think that's the smart pick. I'm not going to say the sharp pick, but I'm going to say that's the smart pick there. Patriots at Titans. Golly, we've got some bad football teams playing bad football teams this week. Oh, this is in Tennessee, but, I mean, are the Patriots going to be, feeling hot after beating the Jets? Who knows? Are they going to go back to Drake May? Who knows? There's just a lot of uncertainty there. Calvin Ridley is a little scary because of namesake, and, he's got probably 3 good games in him all season, and I think he's only used 1 maybe. So give me the Titans with Will Levis, and I don't love that pick, but I don't like anything about the Patriots, and I don't think I'll ever pick them this year to win a game. Clearly, they've won games, though, so it's not saying that you shouldn't pick them, but I can't talk myself into it for any reason. Will Levis having a cannon is maybe the only positive for either team, and the fact that Calvin Ridley can, still put up decent games here and there. So give me the Titans. Like that. It's not a lot of positives on either side in that game, but the Titans seem to have half of a positive between 2 players. So give me Tennessee in Tennessee, but man, I just don't feel comfortable either way in that game. Cowboys at Falcons. Man, I can't pick the Cowboys here either. This is in Atlanta. The Cowboys, I've got to be feeling just defeated at this point in the season. But the Falcons haven't looked particularly great. I mean, they've had to scrap and grind for their wins. Kirk Cousins played really exceptional last weekend, though. 23 of 29 with 276 yards for 4 touchdowns. He's older, though. He might be feeling a little fatigued in this Cowboys game. But the Cowboys defense has been abysmal, and Kirk Cousins typically eats bad defenses alive. So give me Kirk Cousins and the Falcons over the Cowboys there. Raiders at Bengals. I know we're running a little long here. Give me the Bengals to beat the Raiders. Yeah. I don't know, though. No, I do know. That Raiders offense has no hope. They put up 20 on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have a really good defense. But the Chiefs also, gave the Raiders a lot of possessions and freebies in that game, I think, if you watched it. So give me the Bengals to beat the Raiders. I can't pick against Joe Burrow in that offense, man. They're too you can put 40 points up in a game. I don't think the Raiders can do that. And I think the Bengals are going to be hungry and not going to want to lose 2 in a row at home. So maybe that's a little bit of a uneducated pick. There's not a lot of research to back that, a lot of opinion there, but I like my opinion. Ravens hosting the Broncos. Give me the Ravens over the Broncos. Not a lot to be said there. Lamar Jackson is elite. Derrick Henry is elite. The Ravens are a pretty good football team. I'm not going to go say great this year. They've lost some games, and they still find ways to lose games and let teams back in, and that is a good Broncos defense, but give me the Ravens. Bears at Cardinals. I don't know if I can pick the Cardinals 3 weeks in a row, man, but this is in Arizona, and the Cardinals have been clicking, clearly. And the Bears I don't know. They don't have it totally figured out yet. Ah. Mm. Wow. I almost uttered the words, give me Chicago. And I still might. I'm going to come back to that one. Jaguars at Eagles. Definitely give me the Eagles here. I don't think the Jaguars are quite there yet. Although Trevor has been pulling it together these last few games. He's really been pulling it together. I'm proud of the kid. Still got a lot of work to do, though. Give me the Eagles in Philly there. Rams at Seattle. Here's where it gets fun. Give me the Rams. I like it. Puka's back. Cup is back. Stafford feels good again. I'm questioning the Seahawks. They're on fraud alert. They haven't done anything in particular, but I can smell it in the water. There's just a couple glitches in their play, hiccups in their movements, shakiness in their voice, no confidence. Not the same anyway. I don't think Geno's going to be able to hold this together for the rest of the season. So give me the Rams here in Seattle. Lions at Packers. Ooh, divisional matchup. I've been loving the Packers this year, guys. I've been loving what I see out of Matt LaFleur. But give me the Lions. Dan Campbell's a scary guy. He's got trick play after trick play, it seems like. And the Lions have just been rolling through opponents. I don't think they're going to hang 40 or 50 on the Packers. This feels like a 27-22, 26-28 for the Lions, 22 to down all the way down to maybe 17 for the Packers, but one of those games. Kind of feels tight in the middle in the early parts of the game, but at the end you really see that the Lions are probably the better football team. Colts at Vikings. We're starting Joe Flacco. I'm not as high on my Colts roster as Colin Cowherd is. He was on air today, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. I saw the video today. And he was going crazy about how he thinks the Colts have a good roster, and they're just a quarterback away, and this, that, and the other. They have a lot of talent up and down. Yeah. Michael Pittman is a really good receiver. I don't know if he's a really good wide receiver one. He's a really good receiver, though, in the NFL. I don't know if he's I don't even know if he's a conference winning, let alone Super Bowl winning wide receiver one. I hope so. That'd be awesome. I'm a hopeful fan. I don't know if I'm a believing fan when it comes to that. JT, he's a solidified stud at running back. We've got a great O-line. We've got a pretty solid defense. We've got a sharp head coach. So with Joe Flacco in there playing smart football, we could definitely walk away with some wins. And against a Vikings team that is proven now in these recent weeks to be beatable, they can be got. They can be held. So Sunday Night Football in Minnesota, I'm going to take the Vikings because I think Jettas and Darnold and those guys are going to go back to their winning ways at home. And they, slaughtered the Colts last time they met a year or two ago. And I think they had the biggest comeback ever. Now, that was with Kirk, but they've been rolling this year. The Colts are changing quarterbacks every other game now, so there's too much inconsistency in the lineup there. Give me the Vikings. Monday Night Football, Bucks at Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. They're undefeated. Patrick Mahomes is still yet to play like that stud-level Patrick Mahomes that we're used to, and the Bucks are just in shambles with injuries still. Give me the Chiefs. Not a lot to be said. Okay. Very quick must-see TV. Very quick A-plus player of the week. I'm not even going to recap last week's. I don't remember off the top of my head if they even landed on par. So this is kind of just a gimmicky part of the show. Anyway, may or may not keep doing it moving forward. But A-plus player of the week, man, be on the lookout. It's been a minute since we've talked about Josh Allen having just a Superman Josh Allen game. Historically, I think he plays pretty well against the Dolphins, if I'm remembering these numbers right, if I'm thinking of the right team that I looked up. You know what? Let me just pop the stat muse real quick. Josh Allen, career versus Dolphins. Not Dolphins. Dolphins. Passer rating of 110, 3,500 yards with 34 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 13 games versus the Dolphins in his career. So, yeah, I'd say he's pretty good. I I'd say he's pretty good against Dolphins. Passer rating of 110. So, yeah, I'm going to take Josh Allen for A-plus player of the week there. Look for him to pass for 3 or 4 tutties. Look for him to maybe even run one in, maybe 2 in. Maybe he's got 2 and 2, 2 through the air and 2 on the ground. Josh Allen, 0 interceptions. Going to have a good day. Must-see TV. Man, give me the Lions and the Packers. I think that divisional game is going to be insane. It's in Green Bay. The Lions are on a tear. The Green Bay Packers don't want to lose that game for sure. And divisional games this year have been just that, must-see TV. So we'll take that. And you know what? Sunday Night Football, man. Colts at Vikings. Tune in. Joe Flacco. No telling what he's going to do. Again, I think the Vikings will win that, but that game has potential to be a shootout even. And could be a good upset. Colts could surprise me and, ruin my chances of having a perfect week, but also make me ecstatic as a fan. So I'm all in on that. All right, 17 minutes left. We're going to cue in with the producer here and see what he's got for us. Let's rock. You're on.
Okay. I know we talked about it last week, but I want to go back to the Panthers quarterback situation.
Okay.
Starting Bryce Young again, do you think it's just a move to tank and embrace it to get the number 1 overall pick in this draft, or are they just trying to put a little water on the fire and, spice Bryce Young up in a trade package?
So, could be that, but here's my theory, and here's my kind of take on it. You've got a quarterback as young as Bryce Young is, and you're clearly not going to win at any more significant of a rate, I'll say. You'll win maybe a game or 2 more, 3 more at best, with Sam Darnold under center, or not Sam Darnold, excuse me, Andy Dalton under center. And by winning those games, you'll just make your draft pick lower. So why not go with a Bryce Young? And then if you win the same amount, if you win more games with Bryce Young, cool. Then you've seen the development that you want out of your young former first overall pick. But if not, then at least you tried to develop the young guy while still, and you fell short, and now you've got a chance at another young guy if you want, or you've got a higher pick to surround your already young guy that you're trying to develop with more talent. So I don't see a reason for the Panthers, unless you're trying to protect Bryce Young from getting injured, which I don't know why you would do that. Like, just throw him out there. If he gets injured, he gets injured. Like, he's not been worth protecting, in my opinion, in that sense. There's no reason to hold him out, protect him from himself or anything, But, yeah, man, I would keep him in, and if you win games, you win games. Great. That means you're seeing improvement out of him. If you don't win games, you're still getting the lower of the pick. You're not playing a aging quarterback in Andy Dalton who you're not ever going to start long-term anyway, winning games for nothing, So that's my take on the whole thing.
Okay, staying with the quarterbacks. I know you have already mentioned it a little bit, but the Colts and Anthony Richardson. I mean, I can't put my faith in a guy that started roughly less than 30 games since being in high school. Like, that's just crazy to me, how you can have faith in a guy that has never proven anything really anywhere. And, like, how do you try and salvage this season in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cowherd said it best. If the Colts, if they're a position away, we're certainly all it is a quarterback away. But the Colts are sitting at 4-4 in a winnable division. I know we've already lost to the Texans twice, so it's not necessarily that winnable. But if we win out our division games, and if we win, how many more games would we need to win? We have 6 more games, and we end up with 10 wins. If we can find 6 more wins, there's a chance we could make the playoffs as a wild card. It's not guaranteed, but we're certainly not tanking. I'll tell you that. We have too good of a roster to be tanking, and it would be very clear if we started tanking. But we can win some games, and I don't think there's a reason to keep AR in when he's playing the way he is, when we have the talent that we have, and some of the guys are the age that they are. Like, Michael Pittman's not a young receiver. He's not old, but he's not young. JT's just hit 25, so he's starting to turn that corner of the running back age cliff. Our O-line isn't fresh, full of stud rookies, full of stud 23, 24-year-olds. Our defense doesn't have a bunch of super young guys on it, So we're kind of in a win now state, but I think our winning window is at least 2 or 3 years longer. I don't think it's a win this year or we're screwed. So I don't mind the Flacco start. I certainly understand it, especially when, your franchise quarterback, your former first overall pick, like pick number 5 or 6, whatever he was, pulls himself in the third quarter because he's tired. That's not a good look. That'll make a coach question your priorities, your commitment, certainly your conditioning and your diet planning. Like, come on, man. You're a pro athlete. That can't happen, AR. You've got to get it together if you want to be our franchise guy. Next.
Still on the quarterback train.
Mm-hmm.
Famous Jameis and the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Taking down King Henry and the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think this was a one-off for the Browns? There's a follow-up question.
I don't know if it's a one-off. I'm sure they'll pull out another win somewhere along the way. Let me see here. Browns schedule. Let's look at the rest of their games here. So the Browns have left on the schedule the Chargers, which we just talked about, the Saints, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Steelers again, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Ravens. They could not win another game. They really could not win another game. I'll say that the Saints are gettable. The Broncos are gettable. The Dolphins are gettable. I don't think you have to say the Ravens are gettable, especially with the next game being in Baltimore. So they've got 3 winnable games left on the schedule. I don't think it'll happen. If you forced me to make a pick right now, I would say that the Browns do not win another game. Actually, I'll say the Browns win one more game. They'll find one more win in those next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 games left. They'll find one more win. They'll go 1-8 through the rest of the way. What's your follow-up?
Do you think it's a one-off for the Ravens?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can't call that game a fluke for the Ravens because who did they let back in a couple weeks ago? Who did they play? They let them back in the game way late. The Cowboys. The Cowboys game, they let them come back in the fourth quarter. They let them put up like 19. So you can't really call it fluky, but I will say it's a one-off in that they won't get that lackadaisical again. And they didn't even play that bad. They just didn't play good enough. They didn't play aggressive enough. They didn't play downhill enough. It was one of Derrick Henry's lower rushing yards of the year, lower attempts of the year. He only had 11 carries for 73 yards and 1 touchdown, which he didn't get until way late in the game. So they've just got to get themselves going a little earlier. So, yeah, I'll call it a one-off, but I wouldn't call it a fluke either.
Totally.
What's up next?
A little switch up. I feel like every question I ask you is on the offensive side.
All right.
So who do you think, like in your opinion, obviously, is the best defensive player in the league? That's kind of broad. So.
Wow.
And if you can't pinpoint one, just give me like a top 3, not in any order.
So I will say, and this is going to sound like a super, not homer pick because this isn't my team, but it's going to sound like a super fanboy pick or just, I don't even want to say cliche because there's not a lot of people that are saying this about this particular team of players. So maybe it's not going to sound like anything. But I think Chris Jones definitely has an argument. I wanted to say Myles Garrett at the beginning of the year, especially based off last year's performance, but he just hasn't shown up the way that he did this year. Micah Parsons isn't the game wrecker that we all thought he would be at this point in his career. Granted, he plays a lot more off the line than those last 2 guys I just mentioned. Myles Garrett and Chris Jones. He plays more linebacker, middle, and outside, and in the middle of the field. But Chris Jones, man, the Chiefs have a real argument. Not at the numbers. I know they're not ranked this way, but they have a real argument at being the best defense in the league. I mean, we just talked about how that Raiders game was closer than it needed to be because of a Mahomes interception and, the defense playing a little laxed because they always own the Raiders historically. But Mahomes threw an interception and gave them the ball. It was basically first and goal. It was first and goal after the interception, and the Chiefs made him go 3 and out and held him to just a field goal right there on a goal line stand, basically. And, that's that defensive unit, that line, that pass rush, that run stop is led by Chris Jones, and he plays D tackle. He plays edge rusher for them, so he's pretty versatile, and he's just huge. He's physical, and he makes big plays in big moments. I mean, go watch his performance in the Chiefs' dynastic playoff run that they've had. Every time they need a big stop on a big third down, or they need a sack for a loss to force a big third down, Chris Jones goes and gets it done. And shout out to Spagnuolo. I mean, he uses all his pieces in all the right ways. He's got Trent McDuffie, who's a second-year corner in the league. He's got an argument at I don't know that he is, but he's got an argument at the best slot corner in the league for sure. He's in the conversation. But man, the Chiefs defense led by Chris Jones, they haven't lost a game since Christmas Day. They haven't allowed more than 27 points in a game since they played the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. And he is the catalyst of that defense. So I'm going to give it to Chris Jones. It's just like, even if the Chiefs don't have the best defensive stats this year, and they don't look the best on paper, and they don't always pass the eye test, they're not, the Chiefs of old in the sense that they're blowing teams out of the water by hanging up 40 with this crazy explosive offense. They're still undefeated, and they're still the defending 2-time Super Bowl champs. So you're going to give Patrick Mahomes the title of best quarterback and offensive player in the league right now, and you're going to give Chris Jones the title of best defensive player, in my eyes. That's not always the case. You don't always give it to the best guy on the undefeated or best team. But under these circumstances, under this context, I think it makes sense. Rant over.
I think Aaron Rodgers might be going off the deep end.
Okay.
Not going to lie. I didn't want to hop on the Rodgers not being a good QB anymore train that you've been on for a while. I just, I want to think that he's going to be good. I was one of those people.
What, couldn't talk yourself into it?
Yeah, I couldn't do it, but
okay.
I mean, I'm hopping on now. I'm boarding the train, choo-choo and all that. I mean, after this week and hearing what he said, he got like some fountain of youth drink from a kicker, and it's pepper and water. And he's apparently treating it for ankle issues, knee soreness, and hamstring tightness. I like, buddy, you're 40. Like that's normal, especially for anyone that, is an athlete at the highest level. Like,
yeah,
that's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand how people cannot be on that. Like, what do you have to say?
To me, it sounds like, as a former knucklehead athlete myself, it sounds like he's not doing enough body maintenance. Because I'm 25 years old, going on 26, and I'm having some of the same aches and pains that Rodgers is complaining about. And it's post-college. Now, granted, I never took care of my body the way that these pro athletes do. That's why I played D3. And I'm fine with that. But now I certainly don't take care of my body the way that these pro athletes do, or are supposed to anyway. So it makes me question what's Rodgers doing in his free time in the lacrosse office. It's just innate to say that name. What's Rodgers doing in his free time? Is he as committed as he used to be? Or is he just relying on, I'm old, the game has slowed down for me, I'm a 2-time back-to-back MVP, multiple-time MVP, Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP. Like, is he just relying on his status and his already developed skill and legacy to carry him, which has worked for some athletes in the past. So it's not to say that it can't work for him, but it hasn't. So it's probably not going to, and especially after you tore your Achilles, some of what you're relying on just isn't there. I haven't seen him be as mobile all year as he was. What week was that? 2 or 3, where he had a couple of really vintage Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket moments, And you've seen it in flashes since, but I mean, he's not able to do that consistently week to week, game to game even. And I mean, dude, we are almost 2 months away, either December 8th or December 13th. I cannot remember the date, but it is one of those days. And that was Aaron Rodgers' last 300-yard passing game 2 years ago. I think it's 3 calendar years now. Let me double check this. Hold on a second. Because it's a ridiculous stat. It's a ridiculous thing for a guy of Aaron Rodgers' caliber and of his notoriety, his magnitude to have on his resume. It's a crazy stain. Last 300-yard passing game. Yeah, let's find this. December 12th of 2021. So, yeah, 3-year anniversary this December of Aaron Rodgers' last 300-yard passing game. Buddy, you're washed. You're washed. You're not good anymore. You're league average at best. Either figure it out or pack it up and admit it to your team, admit it to your guys, admit it to yourself so everybody can move on and I can stop hearing about you on all the national television. It's so annoying. You've done nothing except be in New York to deserve the media attention that you've got and the primetime game slots that you've got. Like, other than being in New York and creating drama and stirring the pot and getting the head coach fired and unintentionally getting your OC demoted with your bad play and your bad leadership, and then bringing in Devontae Adams, dragging him back into this mess. Other than that, you ain't done nothing to deserve the attention, dude. So, I'm done with Rodgers. I hope everybody else is too. And what do you got next?
I want to talk about the Steelers and Mike Tomlin.
Okay.
I think that guy's a wizard.
Yep, I would agree.
Like, what do you think makes him so dominant, and how do you think he sustains success?
Consistency and accountability. That's his coaching philosophy. So I think he clearly holds his guys to the highest of standards. You show up every day, and you show up ready to work. You show up committed to the game plan. You show up committed to each other, to the guy on your left, to the guy on your right, and you put the work in the right way, and you don't make excuses, and you do it day in and you do it day out. You don't take days off. Seems to be what he's always done, right? I mean, the guy wins games year after year. He's above 500 year after year consistently. And he does it the same way, smothering defense, running the ball right through the middle of your defense, and relying on 1 or 2 wide receivers to make some big plays downfield. That's what he does. That's how he wins games. And he's got some guys who are better fits for his system now, and he's winning more football games, and he's winning at a higher rate, or not at a higher rate, but that, and by wider margins. He's winning with more points on the board this year. So I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy to see him succeed. He could even make a playoff push this year, which would be sweet to see the Steelers back in the playoffs. What's next? How many more you got as well?
This is the last one.
Perfect. Let's get out of here.
The Texans losing a crucial part in the offense with Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, even with Nico Collins still out this week, that their young wide receiver core can bring home a victory versus the Jets? I mean, you always claim bad football team.
So before I answer that, I just peeped this too. Steelers are still first in the AFC North after last week, which obviously, but just another nod to Mike Tomlin's success this year and the guys that he's got in his system being better fits. Yeah, I think the Texans will be just fine without Stephon Diggs and even without Nico Collins. I think Tank Dell's a really good wide receiver in and of himself. It's only his second year in the league, and before Diggs went there in free agency, they were talking about whether Nico Collins, they being the dynasty community, the fantasy community, the fantasy football community, and the national sports media themselves, so everyone considered that follows football, we're all talking about whether Nico Collins or Tank Dell will be wide receiver 1. So they've still got a guy who's wide receiver 1 caliber, at least in the eyes of all of the football experts across the board, including myself. And I think they'll be fine. And they've got a really good running back and a great run game with Joe Mixon. And he is just a touchdown animal this year. And, I mean, C.J. Stroud's still C.J. Stroud. He hasn't looked as impressive as he was last year. I think part of that is the rookie wow factor added into it. But part of it is also just you've been in the league and teams have film on you now, so they're figuring you out. And he's adapting week by week. And, I mean, the Texans aren't, they're not a elite team this year, but they're first in their division. They're 6-2, and their only 2 losses have been they lost, let's see, who did they lose to? They lost to the Vikings 34-7. They really struggled. The Vikings have been electric this year. They were undefeated at that time, and their defense was in talks for, let's see, that was week 3. Yeah, in talk for best defense in the league, maybe. And, maybe still are. And their other loss was to the Packers, who, again, I've been saying is one of the top 7-8 teams in football this year, when healthy especially. But even when they had Malik Willis out there throwing the ball, man, who we all thought was just done for, cooked, not a good quarterback, not going to cut it in the NFL, and Matt LaFleur found a way to make it work. So, but this isn't about them. This is about the Texans. They're going to be fine. Jets are a terrible football team. I'm almost ready to go there. They're a bad football team. I'm almost ready to go to terrible. Also, quick side tangent. Stop this nonsense to all my friends out there and to all my non-friends and to all of America. Stop this nonsense about, oh, well, if they've got a good defense or they have a good offense, like half their team is good, so they can't be considered a bad team. Yes, you can. Think about that statement again. Half of your team is good at their job. The other, one side of the ball is not good in any way. They're bad, terrible, awful. So you're not a good football team. You're a bad football team, right? Okay, thank you. In side note, a little long of a show, maybe just over 40 minutes, probably a little under though. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell everyone America about me, and have a great weekend. Subscribe. See you next week.